So Element 29 Resources, TSXV ECU, is a very exciting and advanced copper explorer with two Peruvian projects that have the potential to move the company to the next level quickly, speaking in mining terms at least. We are talking today to new CEO Steve Stakiw, who is just back from his first site visit and hope to get more insight into what makes Element 29 stand out from among its peers. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Bjorn.
Before we start, a quick reminder for our audience to subscribe to the GOLDINVEST YouTube channel for more interviews with mining CEOs. You can do that at the bottom of the screen. Steve, as I say, good talking to you. As you're new at the helm of Element 29, please give us a short bit of background on yourself.
Absolutely. Yes, you're correct. I just recently joined Element 29 as president and CEO, and I'm very excited to have joined the company. It's, the assets I think are top notch, and the team as well. As you mentioned, I just recently returned from a trip down to Peru to visit both projects and to meet the team down there. I'm very encouraged and very excited about that. Part of my background is, I am a geologist by background, but really a lot about the last decade and a half, fairly extensive capital markets experience as well. I've worked and was part of the team that started a base metal mining company back in 2008 that ultimately became a top 10 global zinc producer with 4 operating mines on 3 continents and operating experience in Peru as well. So I'm confident I'm bringing good skills and good value to the company.
Well, certainly the company hoped so too, or they wouldn't have hired you.
Exactly.
Now, we're talking about copper today, and investors interested in the resources space might have heard or will probably have heard about the bull case for copper as part of the transition to green energy. Could you just quickly give us your take on the opportunity and outlook?
Exactly. No, certainly, we definitely believe the fundamentals for copper look, very robust. Ultimately, copper is a metal that you need to bring energy to market. And, the demand for the metal by the green energy technology is really forecast to double over the next, decade from, just over 2 million tons per annum to over 4 million tons per annum. That's a substantial growth in copper consumption. And that's really being driven by, EVs, electric vehicles. And if you look at your average EV, compared to an internal combustion engine, EVs consume, anywhere from 4 up to 15 times more copper. So that's a substantial increase in consumption. Then you also really have to factor in the extensive electrical infrastructure upgrades required to handle this increasing number of EVs. What are going to charge these? So if you look, ultimately, you have to look and say, where is this copper coming from? Definitely there needs to be more copper exploration and mine development to handle the growth the forecast growth in consumption going forward.
Well, let's certainly hope that Element 29 can fit into there. Before we talk about the company's promising projects, though, please tell us why Element 29 is focused on Peru. I mean, it's the world's biggest, second biggest copper producer, I think, after Chile, but it can also be problematic from a political point of view. Or isn't that a factor?
No, that's a good point. We're focused on Peru. Our projects are there. Peru is a top tier mining jurisdiction and mineral exploration jurisdiction as well. And as you mentioned, it is the world's second largest copper producer, and that's growing. So while there are challenges, and as there are everywhere, we're very encouraged that there's numerous mining projects and exploration projects that are getting permitted and built in Peru. We've been able to get our permits, and we've drilled on both our 2 main projects. And we look to continue advancing these projects going forward. And, as an example, if you look at just recently, there's 3 main big copper projects that are, currently under development, and they're having no major issues. We're seeing, projects like Anglo American with their Quellaveco mine, Minsur with their Mina Justa Cobre mine, and Chinalco, which is doing a mine expansion at their Toromocho project. They're spending over $7 billion over the next couple of years to build and grow these mines, and that's going to bring an additional 400,000 tons of copper per year to the market. Ultimately, Peru, it is a mining country, and mining is a big component of their economy, and they do get that. So projects are moving forward, and we're very, very encouraged by that. Okay, well, then let's start talking about your projects, probably with the Flor de Cobre project, where drill program is currently running. Please give us a bit of overview of what you have there. Absolutely. So yeah, no, you're correct. At Flor de Cobre, we've now completed our 12-hole drill program, roughly around 4,500 meters on the Candelaria zone. We've started to release some results from that program, and some of the highlights are very encouraging. For example, our first hole intersected 349 meters, grading 0.77 copper, also with some molybdenum and silver credits, so about a 0.81 copper equivalent. And that's just starting, just below surface, roughly from about 78 meters downhole. So, and within that, there's a high-grade supergene enrichment zone of 123 meters of 1.42% copper. So very encouraging numbers. And, we still have additional results forthcoming from several additional holes that will be coming out in news releases over the upcoming weeks.
Okay, well, so something good to look forward there, and there were some very nice hits. But if I understand that correctly, that drill program at Flor de Cobre has two objectives. Could you please elaborate on that and how that went so far?
That's correct, yeah. So our program at drilling the Candelaria zone at Flor de Cobre was really designed. It had two focuses. Primarily is to confirm a historical resource estimate that was undertaken on the project back in the mid-1990s. So there's a historical estimate of about 57 million tons. Grading about 0.67% copper, and as I mentioned, that's associated with that supergene enrichment blanket. But also our drill program was designed to test for primary copper sulfide mineralization beneath that enrichment zone, and that was a component of the program, testing to depths of over 500 meters as well.
Okay, well, so that's very interesting. So you have probably going to have, well, an overall goal of, well, how you say, confirming that resource, and then proving up additional ounces. Is that what we can expect from Flor de Cobre in 2022?
Exactly. Yeah. No. Really, these latest results, strongly confirm and correlate very well the historic, the historic drill results. So what that will do is it really gives us the confidence to proceed on our planned initial mineral resource estimate on Candelaria, which we anticipate completing later this year. And as I mentioned, additionally, that we've continued to encounter deeper copper sulfide mineralization in the primary zone. And much deeper than in what was in the historic holes as well. So really, that really supports the potential for additional primary sulfide resources at depth. So we're excited to be able to put out our initial resource estimate on this over the upcoming months.
Okay, very nice. First resource is always good to get the market's attention, especially as you just mentioned, there's the potential for additional ounces in addition to what you have in the historical resources. But so let's not forget that you also have that Atravesado target, which is not too far away from the Flor de Cobre's Candelaria porphyry. Please tell us about the potential you see there.
Exactly. No, Atravesado is an extremely exciting target. It's only about 1.5 kilometers northwest of Candelaria, and it's a very large, porphyry system. It's the signature that we see right now. It's about 1.5 by 1.5 kilometer circular zone, and it's characterized by outcropping copper oxide mineralization with associated quartz vein stockworks and potassic alteration. So very stereotypical porphyry signature. If you look at where we are, we're in the southern Peru copper belt. We have defined mineralization at Candelaria. We're just in the permitting process for Atravesado, but when I was there, it was very interesting because you're standing there looking over, from Candelaria, looking at Atravesado towards the northwest, about just over 20 kilometers along trend. is Freeport-McMoRan's huge Cerro Verde mine, which is located just northwest on the trend. And if you look at the scale of that operation, that really encourages me to the potential of this belt. That's one of the world's biggest copper mines. I think it's number 5 or 6 in the world, and I think it's one of the biggest in Peru. But it's been in operation since 1975, and it has 4.6 billion tons of about 0.4% copper. So being as they say, being next to huge, massive deposits like that is a good place to look, and we're greatly encouraged because Atravesado has really never been drill tested. So it really is a new big porphyry system in a very, very prolific copper porphyry belt.
So the chance of another discovery there.
Let's hope so. Yeah.
So that's still not all, though, because you have the ELIDA project too, where Element 29 so far only drilled part of target 1, if I'm correct, out of 5. So tell us about what you have achieved ELIDA so far, please, and what milestones you want to reach this year.
Yeah, that's correct. So we completed our initial 7-hole drill program, 4,500 meters, in late 2021, and we put out the results from that. And those results now are being used in our initial mineral resource estimate that is currently underway. So that's something forthcoming really over the next several weeks, we anticipate at this stage. And you're correct. So the program really focused on Zone 1. Which is just one of the 5 porphyry centers on the project. And we successfully intersected multiple long intervals of very significant copper oxide mineralization, along with molybdenum and silver credits to it as well. And some of the holes, tested and were mineralized to more than 900 meters depth and remained open at depth. For example, hole 25 intersected 909 meters, grading 0.49% copper, along with significant moly and silver credits for about a 0.55 copper equivalent grade, and that was starting just 38 meters downhole. So that's pretty encouraging. So these results are going to be used. As I mentioned, we're currently calculating our initial mineral resource estimate, but we're also conducting metallurgical test work for a planned economic assessment of the project going forward. But we're also planning, additional drilling on Zone 1, but also to look at some of the other zones in this big system. Zones 2 and 3 are very attractive looking targets that we'd like to get onto as soon as possible.
Well, this certainly sounds interesting and exciting, but can you give us an idea of what the overall potential at ELIDA might be?
I think it has the potential to host a very significant amount of mineralization at this stage. I think just we're going to come out with a resource estimate on just a part of Zone 1, with 5 porphyry zones on the project. So I think ultimately this has the potential to host many hundreds of millions of tons of mineralized material, if not more, going forward. So I think that's something to stay tuned for. I think it's going to be pretty exciting news flow coming from the company.
Well, certainly sounds like it. It's not that often that you get 2 resource updates from different projects in 1 year, and one coming up quite soon in terms of the mining industry. So to wrap it up, please summarize for us why you think now might be a good time for resource investors to have a closer look at Element 29. Well, the stock price actually is close to its 52 weeks low.
No, it is. Yeah, I think we've been suffering along with really the entire sector has been in a bit of a bearish phase. I think market sentiment has been weak. Nevertheless, the price for copper has remained fairly strong. Copper is still holding in at a very good level. I think for an entry point into Element 29, I think it's an opportune time. I believe that we have been oversold in the market. There's been a lot of pressure, not just on us, I think on the sector in general, but I think the company is well positioned to really deliver a lot of catalysts and milestones this year. As you mentioned, we're going to be delivering not 1, but 2 resource estimates. And we have additional news flow coming out from drill results from Candelaria. And ultimately, we want to start doing PEA, economic assessment level studies on these projects. So we're pushing forward very hard, and I think it's going to be a very exciting year with very, very strong news flow coming from the company.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time and talking to us about that. And we are looking forward to hearing more drill results and, of course, to the first resource estimate. Thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.